for making time for us.
Of course.
I mean, it's almost the end of Dutch Comic Con.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
How have you experienced the weekend so far?
I've experienced it like me.
Okay.
Yeah, just in the present moment. Yeah, it's fine. Everyone's very friendly. Yeah. We were just saying it's kind of, culturally, everyone's kind of different around the world, of course. So conventions around the world are culturally kind of different. I find people here very civilized, very well behaved.
Yeah.
I do much more conventions over in North America or in Canada. They're a lot louder. And they don't stand in line in the same way that you guys do. Everyone stands in line. They're very civilized, well behaved. There's a nice little space between everyone. In North America, it's much more of a kind of louder, crazier scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I always like to go back to the beginning. So I was wondering, yes, it's a history lesson. What was the moment when you thought, I want to pursue acting? This is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
I don't know if it was that well thought out, really. I saw Harrison Ford play Han Solo when I was like 7, maybe. And then very quickly, within a couple of weeks, I saw him play Indiana Jones. But I didn't understand. I was confused because I thought, how can he be in space and then also in a tomb with a different hat and a whip and all this kind of stuff? And I asked my dad, and I said, because I thought it was like a documentary that Star Wars, there's just cameras watching these guys, and then there's a documentary they're watching Indiana Jones. And my dad said, oh no, he's an actor, he's just wearing a different outfit. And at that point I thought, oh, okay, I'll do that. Because I was always a big fan of pretending to be other people. Yeah.
And one of your first jobs was, and I have to say, Hetty Wainwright.
Oh, Hetty Wainwright, yeah.
And you were working with the British acting legend, Patricia Routledge.
Yeah, she just died
yes,
like a month or so ago. It was very sweet. Yeah. I got a chance to see her quite close to her passing away, which was lovely.
But on Instagram, you mentioned that she was one of your early acting teachers.
Yeah, she was, yeah.
So how has working with someone like that influenced the early stages of your career?
Well, it was my first ever job. I was 18. So I'd done school plays and I'd done plays outside of school, and I'd made little pretend films with my friends and stuff, but nobody's telling me how to do stuff. I was just doing it. And with Patricia, when I was working, I was 18. She was, I think, 68, 67. So she knew exactly how to do things. Yeah. And I think she thought, here's an opportunity to pass on some of the things that I've learned. So she told me about, conserving your energy, how she learned her lines, how important rehearsals were for her, how important props were and costume. And as a kid, which I was back then when I was 18, you just listen, you just spend a lot of time listening. And I still take a lot of the things that she taught me even nowadays, especially things like conserving your energy, which is really important. You can show up for work, maybe they're ready to shoot at 8 in the morning. Yeah. And 8, 9, 10 in the morning, your energy is good. But if you have to work until 6 at night and your energy starts to fade, then you're useless at 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon. But Patricia was always, her energy was like this. I was like this, playing football at lunchtime and chasing girls around and talking to everyone. And she just said to me one night, she's like, you can't do that. You have to maintain the same energy. And I've taken that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, well, that is very good.
Yeah, she was a very smart woman, very smart. And it was lovely to see her, like I said, she only recently passed away, and I got a chance to see her about 2 or 3 months before she had died. And she was always very considerate, always asking about my parents, asking about my family, my brother, even though she herself wasn't very well. Yeah. She was never talking about that. She was always talking about other people. It was lovely,
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
So a couple of years after that, basically came The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
When you were filming that, when you were working on it, did you expect it to become as massive as it still is today? Because of course everybody loved the books.
Yeah. No, you can't really. You can't. Even the people, you know, like Peter Jackson's probably the most influential single person involved in that entire trilogy as a single individual entity. And even he was kind of like, wow, you know. I remember him saying to us consistently throughout the filming process, because DVDs were still kind of a thing back then. Obviously, no one's really buying DVDs anymore. I still buy DVDs, but no one else does. But, you know, Pete Jackson would say to us a few times while we're filming, listen, this could go straight to DVD.
Yeah.
We don't know. We want it to be big.
Yeah.
And he tried his best, and we tried our best, and I tried my best, and everyone tried their best. But Pete was like, we don't know. New Line could look at it and go, it's okay. We'll just put it on DVD. So you can't tell. It's very easy with hindsight to say, oh yeah, we knew it was going to be great. But it's like, you know, anything big, like the Beatles. I'm obsessed with the Beatles. The Beatles are amazing, but the Beatles didn't know.
No.
You know, they bring out a big album. They're like, well, we like the music. We think it's great. But you can't expect that it becomes this like monster of its own, this like creature, you know. And then they bring out another album, and they're like, well, we kind of like that too. But again, we don't know, and it just keeps going. So I think with Rings, everyone gave an A for effort, and everyone really believed in the project, and everyone really loved the books. But really, the magic kind of pixie dust that makes it big is the audience. It's not the actors. Of course, the actors, if they in any way good, are going to try their best. But it's the audience. It's the fact that, you know, it seemed like the world said, yeah, we really like that, you know.
And what was it like for you? Because suddenly you became famous. How did that impact your life? To suddenly have...
I don't think it does really impact my life too much. I really don't. It impacts the people around me, you know. I remember thinking that it was very difficult for my parents and my brother and my friends to deal with the fact that now when we go for dinner, people come over and want to disturb us. Or if you go out to the pub, people do the same. But for me, because it was happening all the time, you just get used to it very quickly. You know, it's like, I always say, it's like being a clown. You know, if you're a clown in a circus, people say, oh, that job must be really strange. You know, you go to work and people throw pies at you, and then you drive a car and it falls apart, and you trip over and you wear big shoes and you have a silly face. But for the clown, they're like, well, that's my job.
Yeah.
It's normal. It's what I do. So for me, I understood that an element of success came with an element of fame, whatever you want to call it. But the best thing to do is to ignore the fame part. Just work on being an actor. The fame part comes after. I was saying this earlier on. It's like another analogy is like if you're a mechanic, your job is to fix a car. But you're going to get oil on your hands when you fix the car. But you're not interested in the oil on your hands. It's just part of your job. So as an actor, I like to act. I like becoming new people. I like trying to become new people. I love the craft of acting. The fame part is just, it's like a byproduct that is important to ignore. Anytime I talk to kids at school or university or college, I'll usually end this conversation with like, put your hands up if you want to be a famous actor. And usually like half the class put their hand up. And then I say, keep your hands up if you're only interested in being an actor. If you can be an actor but you don't become famous. And quite a lot of people put their hands down. And I say, okay, well then you guys concentrate on being an actor. The rest of you guys don't worry about it. Because if you just are interested in being famous, you're going to have some big problems in your life, you know. But it's meaningless.
Well, you have played a range of different roles, you know, from heroes to, you know, less savory.
Sure. The villains are the most fun.
What has been the most challenging kind of role for you, and what makes that challenging?
What's the most challenging? I think probably the hardest roles are the ones that are difficult to grasp anything about. Someone without a strong personality, someone that's kind of anonymous, someone that's just kind of blah, kind of a nothingness, you know. I played a guy in a film once who kind of is like a little bit of a drifter. He has no friends. He works in a dog shelter. He's a loner, spends most of his time on the computer. And there's nothing to grab onto. His personality is very kind of vapid. And I found that probably the most challenging because when you read the script, there's nothing there. He's like transparent, you know. It's fascinating, but it's also like, well, what is that? Who is that? You know.
We have time for one last question. With the rise of TikTok,
I'm not on TikTok, so I'm not a great TikTok expert. You can still ask me, but I just, yeah.
Well, I think when I tell you, you will know. Because of the rise of TikTok, there is one pop culture moment that has, I think that you get asked the question.
Oh, this is the wigs question.
Yeah. How do you react to that, getting that question so many times? Did you expect that to blow up?
No, you don't. You can never tell what's going to catch fire and what's not. If someone were to ask me something specifically about rings, I would probably say, oh, maybe, you know, this, my friend, is a pint, is the moment that people might talk about with me as a hobbit, or maybe stabbing the Witch King, or maybe, you know, dancing on the table with Billy. If someone were to say, guess something that's going to pop out, the wigs thing was, we were in Berlin. Elijah was in New York doing Saturday Night Live. He had jet lag, which I also have now, which is kind of, it makes you feel just upside down. And Elijah was doing press at the same time that we were doing press, and he was tired. And there were big breaks in between the press, 10-minute, 5-minute, 15-minute breaks. And our publicist for the film said, Elijah's basically sat in New York in this interview like this, and his energy is like this. Can you guys, to Billy and I, can you guys go in and come on the microphone and just say, hey, Elijah, we love you, and we're looking forward to seeing you in a few days. And we're like, yeah, we can do that, no problem, just to kind of help, because it's exhausting, you know. And about 5 minutes before we went in, the publicist came back and said, oh, just so you know, he can't see you. And I was like, what do you mean he can't see us? And they said, well, Elijah's like looking into a camera like this, but he can't see the person on the other end of the camera. He can just hear you. And I was like, oh, okay. And I said to Billy, can I go in on my own and just like mess with him? And Billy's like, yeah, okay. And then I just thought, well, how can I disguise my voice? And I can disguise my voice in a lot of different ways because it's just fun to me. But I knew that Elijah had never heard this German voice before. And what I was trying to do was ask further and further more ridiculous questions so that he would finally work out that it was me. But he seemed to never work out that it was me, you know. And it was just all improvised, you know. So you just don't know. The thing that I love about that moment, that experience the most when I've watched it is one of the few examples that I've seen on film of me specifically where I'm in the moment. Because sometimes when you're acting, you're trying to be in the moment, but I can tell, I'm like, oh, you're in the moment for like a minute, and then it drifts out, and then you're back for a minute, and then it drifts. But in the interview with Elijah, I'm in like, what do you call it? I'm in like flow state, you know, flow state, where you're in the moment. It's like effortless. You don't understand. The concept of time has kind of disappeared. Someone would say, how long did that take? It could have been an hour. It could have been 30 seconds. I had no concept of time at that point. I was just in this flow state. So the fact that it was captured on camera is really fun to watch, because it's very rare that you can witness yourself in a state of flow. And I was in some place that you don't often get to, you know.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, of course it did. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, because I saw so many videos, and every single time people ask you, "Do you wear wigs?" I wonder how he feels about that, getting that question.
No, it's great. Listen, it's fun. And, you know, obviously Elijah and I are like brothers, and the fact that he took it in such good humor, because, you know, sometimes you never know with friends, they can get their feelings hurt or they can feel vulnerable or something like that. But Elijah was just like, oh, that was so cool, you know. So yeah, it was fun. Thank you. Thank you.